changes, additions?
One thing. Phase is with PH.
Oh, okay.
That's as bad as it gets, you know? If you can only come up with one little thing.
Boy,
then
that's
it's as good as it
good.
gets.
All right, all those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. I've got a few comments. I'll make it when we get to the water quality meeting, just a couple things. Any reports? Anything we need to cover as far as reports? Or you want to do that later, Jim?
Yeah, we have no correspondence.
Okay, no correspondence. I'm looking at my, just wanted to make we're going to make a couple comments on our water quality. Jim, I know you're going to cover it. I sat in on a water quality strategy meeting. It was very interesting, very informal. I learned a lot. Just a couple topics you're going to hear more about. One, I think was a lot of interest to me was the Lake George Escape Camping Resort, which is just across the river here, and some of the work they're doing, we might cover a little bit later, I thought was very interesting, and what they've had to do. And I think the other thing, which was kind of new to me, and I know Craig has been involved in it, was the county septic inspection transfer law. And I think that's something we're going to hear a lot more about. And that was very interesting, sitting in that, not being involved in a town, understanding some of the things that are going on. It's interesting to see some of the things that we are getting into. Or I should say already into, and it's going to take some doing as far as getting them approved and how we handle them, but it was very interesting. Treasurer and financial reports. I know we're going to cover a little bit more on the water quality meeting. Jim will have more comments, but I know for me, sitting on that meeting was very, very interesting and informal. Treasurer and financial reports.
Hopefully, everybody received packets, and did everybody receive the bills for payment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. $248,506.22. Bills for payment and approval, $3,567.61.
Okay, we need a motion to accept.
Motion approved.
Tim, and a second?
Second.
Any more further discussion or comments?
Is that for both financial and?
That would be financial. Yeah, we do them both right together, sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay, we'll get into no correspondence. Jeez, boy, no nice letters or bad letters or, boy, oh boy.
Nothing this time.
No presentations this month. And we will go right to the office operation plan, the monthly review and discussion.
So one thing that came out was a couple of addendums to the plan. In the plan, the board has to make approvals for changes and everything. So after getting an email back about having a meeting in the office with Craig saying that that's administrative and I can make that decision, I decided to change put some proposals in to change the plan so that staffing, we have the ability to bring more staff back, technical staff back in. To be honest with you, we see most of the people weekly anyway, and they're in and out, grabbing a vehicle or grabbing equipment and going back out, but this would just formalize this, and then that way I could say, you know, we need 3 of the staff in at any given time. The other way it's pretty set. This allows me to make the call without bothering you folks. And then the other is the meetings in the office, because we are closed to the public, but we were supposed to have the Warrensburg Beautification / Historical Society meeting here, and it got changed anyway to the Warrensburg Historical Society office, but there didn't seem to be a problem with having it back here if the protocols were followed, so we put those 2 in there to amend the COVID response plan from our office. So if anybody has questions or comments or
Hey, Jim, I have a question.
Sure.
The staffing, when you're all working separate work areas anyway, why is the staffing an issue?
It was an issue from the beginning when we put the COVID plan together. The county has requested all agencies have it as minimal as possible. We don't actually have to follow it, but that's what was approved in the original COVID plan. So
Oh.
it can certainly get changed up. That's not an issue. It's just, you know, the change has to be somewhat formal, so.
All right, so you want to change that?
We could have everybody working here.
I thought probably you could.
Yeah, there's a lot of places that can't, but again, it's also, at the county, they can have people working there, but they are keeping their numbers low in-house, in staff. So it's really.
That's understandable. They all share space, so.
Yeah. Do we need a motion to accept those changes?
Well,
So moved.
Craig, you got a question?
I move with the changes.
Tony, all right. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any other further discussion?
Yeah, one thing is, we might need to get some plexiglass or something, like for if the place is open and around, there's not.
If we end up opening.
If we have to get it.
Mhm.
So, you know, there's things you can do to be a
Mhm.
little safer.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, so do you want to have all the staff back in at once? That's where this would come into play to alter the addendums.
well, I'd say yes. I mean,
I think we can accommodate.
I'd say
Now,
yes too, as
just-
long as
just to
everybody's
clarify.
comfortable with it.
Just to clarify, you're not going to require all staff there, right? You're just allowing it.
This is allowing the staff.
Right, good.
Do you folks want to require them, or do you
I don't
want
think
to?
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay,
I agree with Tim. I don't think we need to require them.
Just allow. So if you have situations where you need everybody in.
Yeah. because honestly, we did that last month. I asked everybody to come in and to have a sit down so we could schedule up a couple things that, while we can probably get 70% of this done over and phone calls and Zoom,
It's not the same.
we cleaned the office. How can you clean the office with, you know, like George says, we can't Zoom the office clean, so.
I think allow is the best opportunity to give you flexibility, so.
Yeah, then move on the vote on the motion.
So, and, yeah, the motion will include the allow, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The Water Quality Strategy Committee meeting review.
Okay, so let me just shout out here before, so I don't think I'm crazy. Hey, Bob, Jim Panero's here. Yep. Okay, so we had two presentations at the water quality meeting. This is a quarterly meeting that's held in our office, and some of you have attended in person and via Zoom before. Usually have a couple interesting topics going on this month. Michael Martin from Cedarwood Engineering presented on a wetland remediation project down at the Lake George Escape Campground, which Mark mentioned. Not the current owners, but previous owners had disturbed a significant area of wetlands by fill and disconnecting of drainages, had got into problems without being caught, or created problems without being caught, and then the recent owners ended up inheriting it, agreed to make the corrections, and ended up hiring Cedarwood after another engineering firm. I don't know what the whole story was, but they didn't seem to come up with a satisfactory resolution. Cedarwood got hired to write Warrensburg, and they ended up working on the project this summer. Michael knows me, so he stopped by, and I went down and take a look. Was pretty impressed with what's going on. and I asked if he'd do a presentation at the water quality meeting, and he did a very good job. I have it if you would like me to send it to you. It's a PDF. And the bottom line is they fixed a lot of hydrologically reconnected wetlands. They took out small culverts and put in the big half arches, so you don't have ponding and flooding like you did. A lot of native plantings went on, and got rid of some building sites or camping sites, established permanent access sites to the river so you didn't have herd paths everywhere, and it increased fish habitat in the river. That's when Mark's ears picked up. So out of all the work that went on, I think it was somewhere around 1.2 million.
1.3 million.
Okay.
Was spent.
So a lot of money and a lot of effort. They're still working on it. If today was a nicer day, we would have had, those of you who came, we would have went down there. We have an invite to go down there and check everything out with Mike. We can certainly do that next year. So that was interesting to hear and to see.
Yeah, I think for many of us the same way. They owned 170 acres, and they actually had 9,000 feet on the Schroon River, which I didn't realize.
Wow.
So sometime, hopefully the weather's nice, it would be worth us seeing what they've done. Actually, they created some wetlands, 5-acre wetland. I think it would be it's amazing what they did.
And the funny thing is I took the old flood maps and I put the new flood maps and kind of did a comparison. About 92% of that area is in a floodplain, so it's wet and they know it. So the second presentation that was listed was what Mark mentioned was an inspection, septic inspection upon transfer of ownership. That was something that Chris Belden from planning asked me if we could have at the water quality meeting. It's been forwarded by Claudia Bramer, Supervisor Bramer from Glens Falls. It's been discussed at some of the county meetings, I believe in the environmental concerns meetings. I was at a meeting last year about it, and I hadn't heard anything since. So looking at the water quality meeting as a public forum, they asked if they could have it. We had a couple of us here, but we had 27 people on Zoom. Real estate agents, Travis Whitehead, a couple other people, and it was a very good discussion. I was kind of surprised I think all the real estate agents were in favor of it. I couldn't believe it. But I think the idea, and George has probably seen this it's really changed from now we want to keep things covered up to now we want good water quality because that's where our money is. And it was interesting to see people discuss. There's some pros and cons, obviously. If you're selling to George, it's on your buck. Basically, if the inspection, Ron Montesi, I remember him talking about it, but his thing in Queensbury in the Rockhurst area that's where the money is on the table. So that's when it can be fixed if there's a problem. But there was a discussion of the initial application of this was, I think, 250 feet within a water body. So if you're living 250 feet away from a lake or pond, that would be across the county. But then you ran into things where Queensbury has some regulations, and Bolton and other places have regulations. So who supersedes who? Would it be going through the county code enforcement buildings office? Are they going to have enough staff? So there's a lot of discussion on that. I got an email today. I asked if Chris Belden wanted to be here, and he said the last meeting that occurred, I think was last week, it's basically tabled for now. There wasn't the interest in pushing it forward right now. So, but the concept has been put out there. Warren County would not be the first one to do this. Other counties have it, but it's variable, whether it's within a certain distance to a water or whether it's everybody. Me living in Thurman, is it fair or not that I'm included in it or not? Whereas, Mark's living by the river, was he included on the river or not? Are they just looking at lakes and ponds? So there's a lot of background information that would have to get fleshed out. But my point to Chris and Claudia was you better let a lot of people know about this because it can affect some sales and the bottom line. So.
You know,
I think-
Bolton put in a program last September. We opted to do the entire town. The observations that you're just making as to the interest were the same that I had. There were people there from the county, from other towns, different agencies, because we did a training to train inspectors so that it would help to ensure that there were enough inspectors available, that people wouldn't have to wait to have someone inspect their septic systems. We've had 0 issues with the process. You know, we're finding, you know, systems that need to be upgraded, but the process is working very well.
Good. One of the suggestions that Travis had, because he's researched some stuff in Connecticut, was basically, I'm just going to use a local hauler like, what was his name down in
PBS.
Yeah, ABS, thank you. Like ABS, do the inspections and stuff like that. A question back to him was, do you have to have some differentiation? If ABS does the inspection, are they allowed to do the remediation? Because are you going to run into that? And Susan, I don't know if you've had any of that or anything.
We don't allow that.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
whoever does the inspection cannot do the remediation.
All right. And one of the realtors.
I can send you a copy of our ordinance
That'd
if
be
you'd like
good.
to see it.
Yeah, I'll send it on to Chris because, you know, they were talking about Bolton. One of the real estate agents, and I can't remember who, sent us a link from what they do in Connecticut, and you have to be licensed to be a septic hauler. And so I did the search trying to find out if you had to be licensed to be an inspector, and it just sends you back to, it's typical government website where it just keeps linking back to nothing. So, but that was a good discussion. So yeah, and Bolton definitely got brought up, and as did Queensbury with some of the stuff that they have.
Well, Queensbury started this.
Mhm.
They started to push for Rockhurst, different places.
Yeah,
And there's a few lawsuits now, people that don't like it, so.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, it could be a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that I think Queensbury had it, one of the things that they ran to, which obviously most of you wouldn't, or most of the places wouldn't, there was a home that was in Queensbury, but the septic was in Fort Anne. So who's responsible for what and who, you know, so you're always going to run into odd little things like that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too. Somebody said, where did the 200 feet come? Why not 250? Why not 300? Why not 500? And that was a discussion point that came up that it's going to take some dealing with.
So, and then the rest of the water quality meeting went pretty quickly, but it's still decently attended, which surprises me. I'm glad to see that. So, and we did hold a moment of silence for Doug O'Brien, who was from Chester, who had been on the water quality committee for a number of years and had passed away between the meetings. So it was unfortunate. I like Doug, interesting guy, and when I read his obituary in the paper, I was amazed at what he had done. So, but I don't know, does anybody have any questions about the meeting?
Okay, we'll go to the 220 Zoom meeting, the state meeting.
Did any of our directors attend virtually the state meeting?
No.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have a recap of the meeting yet. I don't know how well it was attended, but I would like to point out, and we should all congratulate Dean. Dean was a recipient of the Bob Van Laer Distinguished Service Award.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
the award
Good
is
for you.
Congratulations.
Good job.
the Robert Bob Van Laer Distinguished Service Award is an honor to be presented annually to an outstanding Conservation District employee, partner, or NYACD board member. The person that is bestowed the honor of receiving this award is recognized by their peers for the dedication and commitment to carrying on Bob's legacy in the services to the New York State Envirothon and our educational programs related to district partners or NYACD board members in the field of conservation. So I'm very proud of Dean. Well earned, he's widely regarded and gets a lot of questions on Envirothon questions, and basically, I just point to, he's the reason why they had the state marathon, was we
Yes.
decided to do the one here, and he took it, and other people asked him to kind of help them out at the state, and he put it together. So, well deserved, Dean.
Very good, Dean.
Very well deserved. It's always nice to see staff members give, you know, a lot of time is put in. It's always nice to get recognition from a lot of your coworkers all over the state. Always is great. Lake Champlain Basin Program Grant Application.
We have two going in today after the meeting. One is for stormwater improvement over at the Lake George Transfer Station. That is for $20,000, which is the maximum amount. That will be putting in a stormwater diversion. What happens is water comes off of the mountain down an unimproved road, becomes muddy, and goes into the transfer station and into a drop inlet, which just goes straight out to the wetland next to the creek. That's going to be part of the grant, and the other part is around the buildings where people walk, there's a lot of icing, including the north side where sun doesn't hit, and they can't do anything with it. So we propose putting in the precast porous concrete slabs so they don't have to have the ice build up as much, and they don't have to use as much salt. And I got a good feeling on that grant. The LGA is contributing $3,000 towards it as match. I think the total project is around $24,000 with some match time from us. So the village and the town of Lake George will do the work. So that's one of the grants that's going in, and we would be getting, I can't recall off the top of the head, out of the 20,000, I think we'd be realizing about $3,000 for our time. So we'd be getting basically 75-25 matches what we came up with. The second grant is one that got put in last year that was turned down, but was highly regarded. Nick and Bob would be doing some diving on the deltas in Lake George and doing a lot of videography of the plants, the disturbed areas, both aquatic, native and non-native plants, and the disturbed areas, and then having SUNY Adirondack working with them to put it into a 20 to 30-minute instructional training video. Then there'd be presentations on that, assuming that we can be back in the schools. They would do it then. If not, it would be over Zoom, and provided to the Park Commission and all the other partners, anybody who's interested on it. And they would be doing the narration on it as well. So I think that one, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's around $10,000. Is that?
Yeah. Yep.
So that one, I think, is a good shot as well. The Park Lake George Land, the Lake Champlain Basin Program grants, I'm sure are going to be highly competitive this year. But we think we have two strong ones going in this afternoon. We anticipate them announcing 2 more grant categories, and we've already got a couple ideas lined up for that. So stay tuned.
That's encouraging. It sounds like good. Conservationists of the Year coming up. I know that's a discussion on that.
Yeah, we haven't, so after today, we'll be able to, I'll throw out something to the staff, but, you know, the board usually looks towards us, which is great for recommendations, but in the next, couple of weeks, if you have any thoughts or ideas on people who have done an outstanding job, it just gives a different perspective other than the staff working with them. Send me some names. We would put together a little list for you. Usually we come up with 3 to 4 people who feel are eligible. And then what will happen is you'll vote in November for the Conservationists of the Year. And that kind of leads into F, the December meeting, but they get recognized at the December meeting. So I just wanted to put it out there since it's October. I mean, can you believe it? We're within 30 days, we're within 60 days of Christmas. So 60 days. It's crazy. So, do you want me just to roll into the meeting then?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I've spoken to a couple of you when I've seen you. If you want to do a meeting, luncheon, the challenge is going to be what it usually is finding a place that's open, but who can accommodate us for a certain size so we can do a presentation. We always have problems with getting more than a couple ideas, just because a lot of places aren't open on Mondays.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what the feelings are, but I'm just pointing this out. Well, I thought of Susan, I thought of the Conservation Club, and if we wanted to have it catered, something like that. So that was in my mind initially.
It's actually closed.
Oh, okay, well, strike that.
Yeah.
So Lizzie Keys, Tom has converted that room, completely redone it, made it very nice, the banquet room. It's actually part of the restaurant now. They can accommodate up to 50 people in there, which I don't see how, but he said 50. We would probably have around 20 or 25 as usual. And they have a PowerPoint projector up in the ceiling, so that saves a lot of room as well. So, there's an option if you wanted to do that. We've always enjoyed it there. We moved it around after that just because we like to, but some suggestions back would be great, realizing that Monday they have to basically start being open at 11 for us. So that's the one challenge.
Any comments on that or thoughts?
Let's look into Lizzie Keys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're getting back to the point where, you have to wear your mask, so you're seated and all the requirements, but there's some real potential there. I personally, same thing, would like to look into it, but.
I'll personally buy any board member the first round.
Wow.
Make sure that's in the minutes.
You can have that in there.
That's icing on the cake right there.
So yeah, if you're comfortable with it, we can take a look at that. I, at this point in time, see no reason not to. And I think it's important to do that at the December meeting and, have that award recognition too.
I think with the award, we're probably, again, 25, 30 would be a lot if we had 30.
Yeah, we can cut a few people too if we wanted to.
All right. So everybody agrees Jim should go further on that and look into it.
We'll try to come up with a couple other places too. You want me to look around or do you want to go to Lizzie Keys?
I'll go with the flow. I mean, it's just like you say, it's hard to get
It's
people,
hard to find on Monday.
hard to find work who want to wear masks.
All right, we're going to Lizzie Keys.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll go right from there into grant updates.
Maren, you want to start off with your grants?
Sure. I wrote quite a bit about it in my report, but so our NACD Urban Ag Grant at the Warrensburg Community Garden, we ended up, we're about finished out with that. We're looking into doing a third presentation because we did budget some money to pay for a presenter. So we're trying to work out the kinks for that. Dean and I made an insect hotel last week, which you might not be familiar with, but there'll be some pictures, but basically it's like a box that you put materials you find out in the woods, like branches and leaves and just different stuff, blocks of wood for non-stinging insects to basically nest in. So we put that in the hedgerow garden, and that was like a zero cost project, and it was fun to try and something different. Other grants, I included a picture in my report, but the Quickney WQIP grant, which is for roadside erosion projects in the Lake Champlain watershed. I put in a grant, or I put in a project with the Town of Hague Highway Department this past month to do a stabilization for just like a ditch area that goes to an unnamed tributary that basically goes directly out into Lake George from there. So they were really excited about that, and we got a lot of good response from people walking on the roads, and we're pretty happy to see that look a little bit nicer over there. Other projects, I've been assisting Bob with the Lake Champlain Basin Program Habitat Improvement Grant, and for that we did the 2 bikeway gardens, and we finally got the tools for the bike station. It's got like 8 different tools that you can use to just do quick fixes on your bike, and that was donated by Grey Ghost. And I believe on Friday it got put in by the Parks and Recreation Department at the Cameron Field location. So it's like Sanford Street, Stewart's. There's a nice grassy area. So check that out. Go on the last bike ride for the year. And then in addition to that, we had the invasive species trainings for a basin program grant. And overall, I think it went decently well, given the circumstances of having to convert that onto Zoom. And, you know, we handed out quite a few buckets. We do have some extras, but I think they'll get put to some good use. And we'll continue to get those put out in the community, like to highway departments and different partnering associations. So that's about it for grant updates.
Thank you. Who's next, Jim? Who wants to do the next?
Dino.
Okay, DC 15, we're wrapping up this year. Hydro Seeder just went over to get winterized. We're on target with material usage. We actually were out of the gates real quick with Bob lining up a 5,000 bale project on Sky High Road over in Thurman. But we also utilized a lot of material for some projects with Marne as well. But that's good, on target, no issues. And the assist we're doing with Quickney, writing that augmented reality sandbox, that's coming along just fine. A little hiccup on some equipment and delivery, but once that gets replaced, that should be all set and ready to go. That's about it. Everything else is in the report.
And congratulations on the award. It's nice to see you get recognition for it too.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was good. I met Bob as well. I could go on for half an hour, as you very well know, but I was very humbled to receive that award. Thanks.
And Nick for the grants.
All right. Let's see, my stormwater abatement round 14 grant. Queens Bay Highway Garage, the stormwater separator has been installed, so I'm waiting to get invoices from their engineers at the Highway Garage project. So that'll take a big chunk out of that grant. Dean met up with Warren County DPW for me because I was off that day, and I've been waiting for him to do test pits for a while, and they chose the day I was off. So thanks, Dean, for doing test pits at the Bay Ridge Firehouse. So that project is fully set to go in, so I just need an install date from the county. On my stormwater improvement grant, this grant is closing out right now. Flat Rock Road in Lake George with the town of Lake George, that project's been completed. And then the village is on the final touch-ups of the Schuyler Street project, which consists of 110 feet of the precast porous concrete sidewalk. That project's looking great. The village is just awesome at these type of projects, and they're doing an excellent job over there. So that's going to close out that grant, which is really nice. That was a good finishing project, and that's really it for actual grant updates at the moment.
And just one thing, we've signed one DEC grant that we received last year, the contract. 3 of them have been at the Office of Management and Budget. I signed one of them. The other 2, whenever they decide to release them. So.
I have a question here for Nick.
Go ahead.
On the Conservation Skills Workshop Basic Soils course, who dug that pit?
The SUNY Adirondack maintenance crew dug an excellent test pit for us.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, you know, I asked them, I was like, if you could put just one step down, because it was about 4 feet deep, you know, so we could just step down into the pit for, you know, being like OSHA standard. And they dug us a perfect ramp so we could all walk down in.
Nice soil.
Yeah, we actually had both types of soil over there. So it was really neat. It was a pretty unique test pit. So the majority of that area is like a Rhinebeck soil, but we actually hit, can't remember the name of it. It's a sandy loam they also have over there. So it was a nice to show both soils in one pit.
Okay, Bob had to leave. I've got a question because he told me they found a new invasive brittle naiad. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Nick, do you know anything about it?
Yeah, it looks like, when I've seen it around, it kind of looks like a small pine tree is what it really looks like. And I think it gets maybe a foot tall, but there's a few different, species in that family. So I've seen some of the other ones that Bob has pointed out to me, but I don't know how serious it is or anything.
Wow, another new
What
one.
is it called again?
Brittle naiad.
Where did you find it? Was on screen?
It's been discovered in Lake George and a few other lakes around here. I can't remember which ones.
I know Sunnyside was asking about it, so.
Yeah, I think that's found in Sunnyside too.
Mhm.
Well, another one, when you start diving, you can add another one to your collection. Okay, Jim, you got a follow-up on yours?
I have a few things at the end for other, but the grants, basically I just help out as necessary.
That sounds good. How about a community conservation program?
None.
None?
Dino's gonna update though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Dean's gonna update it.
Yep, it's all good. So we had 4 active applicants that you gave approval to. The Friends of Up Yonder, they're all done, and I think Rhonda's taking care of that paperwork. That was for the Beehive. We have 3 that are wrapping up currently. One is with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and John Bow. They've had a change in staff. John Bow has touched base with us. They're using that money to the best of their abilities. Actually, they're doing quite well. I know last year they couldn't get off the ground, but this round they're doing well. I don't have any major worries, and I think we'll be okay to wrap that up. The other was with Warren Washington Mental Health with Rebecca Ryan. I actually have a meeting with her on Wednesday to check out some of the raised bed materials they purchased, and they did some upgrades to a high tunnel. And last, I'm waiting to hear back from Shelley Wise with Glens Falls Parks and Rec. She was going to address some issues with Eastfield and the Sagamore Gardens, and I'm waiting to hear back from her, but it looks like we'll wrap things up here this month so that we can close out things by the end of the year. So, but
Any questions for Dean?
if anyone has any questions.
Go ahead. Anything else? All right. Do any of our board of directors, any reporting information, anything we need that any of our directors have been involved in? Craig, I know you're always busy, so we can't ask you.
No, I've been involved with on that legislative rules committee there about the what do you want to call it, septic inspection. There's still a lot of questions about that, but we'll keep working around on that.
All right. Anybody else have anything else?
Actually, Mark, it's Dean. And as long as Rhonda can hear me as well, I just wanted to bring up, I believe we're going to need an approval. We had an issue with the fish program this year.
Oh, yeah.
One of our recipients who ordered trout, bass, and minnows had the trout perish. I discussed this a little bit with Jim and with Rhonda. I think it would be okay to refund them, and that we really have never had this happen before that I'm aware of. But certainly, having said that, open that for discussion. But I think we need approval if we do refund.
It's in the bills for payment.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. My bad.
Yeah, what's interesting is like Rhonda said, 21 years, we haven't had a problem in 21 years. That's pretty good. It's hard to imagine. Yeah, I think we've got that covered, so.
Sorry, I didn't see that.
That's fine, no problem. Any other reports? Now we go to other.
So quickly, just want to confirm right now for our December meeting is set for the 14th. But we do have the availability of the 21st if we needed to. Would you like to stay at the 14th or do the 21st? Is there a reason to change it? Hearing none, we'll stick with the 14th.
Yeah.
And then Chris Belden from Warren County Planning called and spoke to me last week. They're putting in a grant for backyard composting for the recycling program and asked us if we would be able to do 2 public in-person and virtual workshops. I suggested SUNY Adirondack on effectively composting food scraps. So basically 2 hour and a half long presentations. It'd be coming out of a grant. If they got it, they'd be paying us for it. So I said, yeah, no problem. So I just wanted to let you know, we get those little random things that pop up and help offset the budget.
Good.
I'll keep you informed of that.
Yeah, the composting is a big issue. I know the state of Vermont has made it mandatory for composting, or you can't use food scraps or throw away anything except bones. And I know that's the question that came up. They didn't have a lot of training. And I think as we get down the road, I think it's going to be very important that we're kind of prepared for it. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't have anything else that I can think of at this time.
Anybody, any board members have anything? Any problems, criticisms, changes, additions?
Good news?
Good news? The weather? Winter is coming. I hate to say it.
I should say that the gym in the city did a nice job out in front of my house last Friday, expanding the rain garden there. Work is pretty much complete. You still need to get plants in there next spring, but it looks pretty good over there.
Yeah, and we met with them this morning, Mike, and they're going to finish it up this week. It all depends on the weather. They don't want to be working while it's raining, but we did discover, because the design sheets are pretty bad, and the final elevation was on the map that I had, so we were going with that, and then Nick found back buried in one spot. They're actually supposed to go down 2 feet, take that sand out, and basically put sand back in. So the water department made the call, they're not gonna do that, so. You know, I mean, Nick and I have come up with a saying, everything works on paper. So,
Yeah.
I don't know why they're doing it, but they decided to do it, but Tom Gerard said, nope, here's what we're gonna do. So we'll probably help them finish that up on maybe Wednesday, so. But yeah, I'm glad that you said it was at Crandall Park, because it wasn't in Mike's property. It was not in my board member.
No, not on my property. Right across the street.
Okay, thank you very much.
I did get to meet Mike's 3-month-old puppy. So she's quite a cute dog. So.
Okay, I guess anybody else, any comments?
Nope.
All right, I guess we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Second.
Okay, Mike, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sure, thank you.
Have a good Thanksgiving.